the channel where the dough don't rise. Broken bakers here with the sarcastic eyes. From Danish pastries to courtroom crime, where the spelling's a mess, but the humor's prime. Proceed defendants taking the stand, with wine moms laughing, glass in hand. Mods like Marissa and Valhalla too. Irish and whiskey keep the chat in view. It's trial tribulations with a sprinkle of wit. Chats popping off, yeah, they never quit. Jamie's got the deals and the beauty hacks. Dollar store glam keeping us on track. So come for the crime, stay for the snark. Broken bakers baking up a legal spark. Mo hops in with spicy takes. Jemima's got the docs, Farrell brings the shakes. Brandon keeps it wild, Iron Rabbit keeps it chill. Together they're the dream team, streaming the thrill. With courtroom chaos and dry witty flair, we're roasting defendants, cause life's not fair. Grab your wine, your snacks and settle in. Chat's the real star, let the fun begin. It's trials, tribulations with a sprinkle of wit. Chats popping off, yeah, they never quit. Jamie's got the deals and the beauty hacks. Dollar store glam keeping us on track. So come for the crime, stay for the snark. Broken bakers baking up a legal spark. Broken Baker streaming, so don't you miss, where courtrooms and sarcasm meet Danish bliss. Mods and chat, we're keeping it clever. True crime and dry humor now and forever.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, whoever you are, what if any you might be. And welcome to the second day in the Jason Chen case. Helen from Holland was here very early, an hour before. Yellow, Bisbee, and Fedorowski. Shore Life says it should be an exciting day if the prosecution goes as fast as they did yesterday. We should hear lots today. As I said yesterday, I hope they will tailor it to his new confession instead of trying to prove he did it. I know they can't leave it out that he did it and then they don't use that. Well, they did say in opening statements, but that's not evidence. But still, I don't think they should waste as much time as they probably plan to. Hey, Carol Sue and Broken-Hearted Krista. They're going to get bogged down going through the deceased liquor store receipts because they sell some good wine and she drank a lot of it. Could be. It could be she did it to herself because she was making him drink. Hey, Penny. Power play. Take control of the narrative before things get out of hand. Yeah. Start out saying, well, she's dead because she was an alcoholic. It'll work 11 times out of 10. Will we be hearing about how she force-fed him wine and concentrated devil's lettuce today? We never know where we're going to go. Hey, Hellraising Angel. And Tash. Panella. Haley Mouse. Sui. Rianne, afternoon and chat. I'll be lurking, sleeping, then repeat, feeling really rough today. Get to bed. Get better. Hey, Jemima. Melissa Crawford. Kim. Oh, Buttface. How you doing? She was using a grinder for at least a month and rolled him a Bob Marley joint with the fish. I'm not street enough to know what that means. Hey, KDP. Holly Merck. You too. Yes, don't forget, if you think there's some good words we should use for a closing argument bingo, you can put it into a form. And then Jemima will make bingo cards. Hey, Plushie. And Gwyn Garneth. Blind firearm. Well, I'm not street enough. But for those of you who weren't here yesterday, a quick recap. A 22-year-old woman goes missing. Her mom starts snooping around on her devices, contacts Verizon, checks her Chevy app, finds out she is at an apartment, goes to the apartment. It's locked. Call the police. Police don't care. Gets in contact because she sees the last dialed numbers. Gets in contact with Jason Chen, who is now at his parents' house in Nashville, and he says, "I don't know anything." And they break into his apartment where they find certain items of hers. Calls the police again. So there have been an argument about illegal search and seizure and stuff like that, but the judge overruled it. When the police finally looks in her apartment, in his apartment, I believe they find, of course, the stuff from her and a lot of traces of blood. Her body is discovered in a suitcase near Sock Creek Road, where her wrist and her ankles are cuffed together, and she's stabulated 60 times. This is from 2022. He has claimed innocence all the way through. Yesterday, during opening statements, he now claims it was a crime of passion, so a manslaughter charge instead of the first degree they have him on. They will try and say, I didn't do it willingly. I had no premeditation. She attacked him with a bottle because she got jealous that he was talking to a girl on Tinder or something, came at him with a broken bottle, and he had forgotten he had a stabulator and blacked out. When he woke up, blood everywhere. She had 60 new holes in her body. And because he was afraid of the popo, he hid the body, put her in 3 trash bags in a suitcase, and dropped her off along Sock Creek. Interesting strategy, Cotton, but you just have to have the jury believe that it could have happened, and manslaughter is way, way, way less time in prison than first degree. And again, it's the strategy that they're going with. We haven't really gotten presented much. We haven't been able to tell from what's been said so far, but I hope we can figure out kind of how they will land that strategy. Nope, nothing happened. 17, agriculture, commerce. But there are claims that he was a catfisher. Will be interesting to see if the prosecution brings that into trial. Doesn't matter. Doesn't have anything to do with the case. I wouldn't waste time on it. That's why you watch it on a comedy channel. I Am Arlene. And Tim Swoops, believe him. Because Tim Swoop, that's what he does on his Tinder dates. Because that morning she drank a bottle of wine and another 3 bottles, 4 bottles, 5 bottles, and some of that sticky, icky, a wee. Then she packed for a trip after the boyfriend left. Brandon, you should be a defense lawyer. I think you cracked the case. I just hope they found all the empty bottles like they did with Sarah Boone, because another innocent man going down for a nagging woman would be hard to see. We saw it in the Falazzo trial. She was clearly nagging. He had to pew her, stabulate her, and cut her into pieces. It's the lack of frolicking that does it. He might have gotten away with manslaughter if he turned himself in right away instead of trying to conceal the crime. That's what I said yesterday, Mass. It doesn't help that you hide it. It's really hard to explain why. Oh, thank you, Tim. Doesn't the prosecution have to agree to having the manslaughter charge to be added, or was it part of the charge already? No, he's only charged with first degree, and I think maybe wrongful handling of a corpse is the charges against him. They had 2 other charges that they dropped. We will see during the final instructions if they will go to lesser included as well, but so far no lesser included. And you know my take on lesser included. If you didn't mention them at the outset, you shouldn't be allowed to put them in. That's just my take. I feel if you want to charge someone with first degree, you prove first degree. If the jury only finds manslaughter, well, sorry, you didn't do your job. Hey, Gerda from South Africa. No, he is celebrating that his team won. Go Irish. Hey, Texas. Or maybe I can get one of those brain chips from Elon and have it run a proprietary AI search engine that delivers thoughtful responses. It's Brandon. No, don't change. No, lesser included means we can't prove it. That's just my take on it. Hey, Special K. Yeah, it's your flag. Well, it's not, because your flag is up there, but it's your seal. It's a boat, a plow, a nuclear bomb, some leaves, and mountains, I think, and fishies. That's how I read the seal. You're like Data in Star Trek when they took away his emotion chip. Hey, Cindy, do I have a Tennessee flag? It's right up here somewhere. I feel the same about lesser included as I do about participation awards. Everyone should have one. I have a Tennessee flag. Again, it's up there. I got it from the White Rabbit. Show Life, a member for 4 months. Hey, I made it another month. How about that? Well, thank you so much for 4 months of joining, chatting, making everything a little more fun. That might be cotton, not the atomic bomb. Isn't the atomic bomb made in Tennessee? I would drink records under a pile of snow. Then Val and I would go to Dixie Don's night meeting on how to safely make a torch in the woods. I bet you would. Thank you, Holly. I just entered puberty. That's so nice. Thank you, Holly Mac, for 5 gifted membership to Tom Gillis. Oh, I hope he's doing well. Haven't seen him in a while. Helena T, Terry Lynn, Yetzia, and Amber M were gifted memberships by the very nice Holly Mac. Now you get access to, sometimes I release videos early. I am trying to make maybe a monthly members only stream, and Jamie has that tendency when we're doing giveaways that one of the giveaways might be when she have set the chat to members only. Other than that, I am the worst host for members. Hey, Ginger with a soul. Your dog ate your breakfast sandwich. Don't put your breakfast sandwich on the floor. Easy fix. I love it that Court went live half an hour ago and he said, I don't want to waste time. Is there any motions? Then they haven't said anything and now they're late. Oh, and by the way, I have court tomorrow, which would be 3 a.m. your time. If he wants to go to 6 p.m. again. I might end early and ship you over. I know recovery is also covering it. I might send you over there so I can get some sleep because I have a day job tomorrow. Well, the next 2 days. Oh, thank you, Kiki K. Well, I'm not grifty enough. I should do all of that. Hey, if you want to join for 95% of my chats, you should be a member because I do a special members only stream, and you should be there. And you can only write me if you put in super chats. Any super chats under $5 won't be read. So, and please join me on my Patreon and on my Kick account, on my Twitch account. You can join me on my Twitch account because I have 2 followers on Twitch. I would love to have 3. I don't know what you use Twitch for. Someone said I should use Twitch. I do it. I get no action, but that's just like my Tinder account. But no, I should do more of that. Only if you pay me, I will acknowledge you because you owe me money because I am a streamer, which I think is late in French and it just makes everyone feel that the YouTube is one big grifter where everyone is sitting there saying, "Why don't you give me money? I saw you gave someone else money. Hey, please pay me money." No, you should make the greatest show every time for those who show up. And if you're lucky enough, some of them would give the membership or send a super chat. Appreciate it because you ain't owed nothing. That's what I'm saying. Dog was growling on the way to puppy daycare. Definitely biting someone today. Don't take it to Canton. I thought it was a place where young women had no clothes on, but I thought I'll give it a chance. Rumble was too much of a hassle. This one is easy. I can just have it running. You'll get more action on your Tinder account now since you hit puberty. Well, maybe. Oak Ridge, Tennessee was a massive scientific development for the WW2 Manhattan Project. Yeah, the expert told me about that. It was right north of where he lives. I mean, it's kind of outside of here for the most part. What's kind of out here? Yeah. Hey, Coconut. You are ready to go then. Yesterday actually wasn't. The most interesting part was the opening statements because he admitted to manslaughter. The mom testifying, yes, we did alter the crime scene. Could have been used if they didn't admit he did it. I think it would have been better. The police saying, well, I had my day off, so I didn't really want to go check out where she was. That was kind of seeing the luminol, seeing all the pictures. I think I've shown 2 pictures of the luminol before, but I think what we saw yesterday, you could clearly see there was a lot of traces of blood. What he doesn't know is they will still take him. They'll just lock his behind up. He is lazy though. Maybe it's a ploy everyone is falling for. Maybe he just think, oh, I can get my own cage all day. I'm gonna attack someone viciously and then go to sleep. Oh, in Oak Ridge. Well, it's the same in Flint. Hey, Debbie Blair. I was looking again at that trip, either east or middle. I think I have to, if I'm going to the middle route, I have to convince Jamie to drive to Chicago or somewhere to meet me because that's a stupid 8-hour round trip that is kind of stupid. I don't know. That's a lot of monies. That's why you should join my Patreon. On my Patreon, you can give me money, and I'll say the same thing I do on every other stream. Only $45 a month. I don't have a Patreon. 60 is a lot of holes. Yeah, but I think 61 would have been that. The manslaughter part, kind of between 60 and 61. It's a fine line. Is Sarah Boone inspiring people to unalive in a suitcase? Well, she apparently wasn't in a suitcase when she was unalive. She was put in a suitcase after. I don't know. Jamie doesn't go outside, but it's just it's a weird going northeast and then going down south. If we could meet up in Chicago or somewhere, I could just drive down. I'll take a day off my trip. And I was looking at it yesterday, and with plane tickets, if I fly if I fly to Newark in and out, that would mean I would have to do the 10-hour drive home to back to Newark before I fly out. But with car rentals, I could do it for something like 9, maybe 10 Danish, the 9 or 10,000 Danish. And if I go to Chicago, which and in and out of O'Hare, I think it would be 12 or 13,000 Danish. So that's a little bit of a difference. And you will have to do a stop. One of the routes flying from Copenhagen to Helsinki to Chicago, because that makes sense that I'm gonna fly northeast and then fly west. I have to do the Griswold, but they go to California, right? I was in Chicago airport once and drove through another time, so not really been to Chicago. I have stayed in a hotel in Chicago. I think I was at a Six Flags in Chicago. Is that right? There's a Six Flag around Chicago. I like the Six Flag, but I have always been more of a Warner Brothers guy than a Disney guy. I got a Superman pinky ring, and I lost it while I was in the military. That was cool. Not that it was a pinky ring, but it was the only ring. It was the biggest ring and my smallest finger. Well, I don't know. It's a lot of driving. Yeah, but I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time there. In Gurney Mills? What happened in Gurney Mills? Yeah, again, and he's claiming he blacked out, so he doesn't know what had happened was. So, oh, the Six Flag. I don't know what Gurney Mills is compared to Chicago, but we went there with my sister's high school, and it was fun. It was back before my back was cracked, so I could run all the funny roller coasters. I liked the one where you went upside down while you were standing up. I think it was the Batman one. That was cool. I liked those kind of things before my back got really bad. And now I could hardly do the log ride in Dollywood. Well, hello. Have you told the expert to make a promo video for the Dollywooding so we can get some people down there meet us this year? Careful not to step into BS. These people are trying to get you pewed. By Chicago, they mean anywhere within 40 miles. Well, okay, yeah, yeah. It was a tough town already when I was there in '95 or '96. Hanoi announcement. It's a town that's a mall with Six Flags, lots of rich people. Stay at the Intercontinental Hotel, lots of history, and the Palmer's House in Chicago. They have a ghost that plays a piano. Well, I'm hoping to do a lot of couch surfing. That keeps my travel costs down. I think hiding the button doesn't rule out manslaughter. You would wake up shocked and hard, or shack and hard. Yeah, but again, let's just say if you want to do the best for your case, you should call the police and say, we had an accident. You will still be in trouble, but I think there's a higher chance because again, you will be presenting to the jury that, well, I was afraid of the popo. That's why I hit the body that I unintentionally unalived. The jury will probably look at you and say, really? Were any of the wounds? We haven't heard anything about the wounds. Pick a middle point in the States, find a huge Airbnb and rent it, but everyone can chip and then just all hang out. Well, the problem is nothing is really the right place, because if I say, okay, I'll go to Cincinnati, everyone will say, why don't you go to Cleveland? And if I say, okay, I go to Cincinnati and Cleveland, everyone will say, do you know Columbus exists? And I say, yes, he was an Italian hired by a Spaniard who found some islands and thought he found a continent. Weirdo. Well, it wasn't the upside down part where a person on the right puked, but when we arrived into the station again after, and I think like 2 rows behind me, someone looked down and someone had offered their lunch. Yeah, so I shouldn't be wearing my gang colors when I go to Chicago. Oh, thank you so much. I don't know where you live. The issue is somewhere, people. Tennessee is a middle point, but it's also a point that's really hard to get to for some people, and it's expensive to fly to because it's not a major airport. But I will be in Tennessee. We will have the meetup there on the 6th of June. Yeah. The 6th of June. The 5th of June will be in Dollywood, I think. But I'm thinking if I flew over there like Friday or Saturday, I could do either a Midwest or a Northeast meetup also. Just meet at a bar or a restaurant. Someone can recommend me where to do it. See, come to Cincy. I'll never make everyone happy. No, just ask my ex-wife. Yeah, because it's a very small airport. I was actually quite surprised how little the airport in Tennessee reminds me of the airport in Billund. That's our second biggest. That's where Legoland is. Just small, nothing really happening there. So I was quite surprised how little it was.
We're trying to stop them before they get to a problem where people have to leave the courtroom. Okay? This is an emotional trial. I know both victims' family and defendant's family have waited for it for a long time.
If I can find it, I will go to the Australia Dome.
And we can proceed as I hope to. Okay. Both sides ready to proceed with the trial? Yeah. Mr. Chen. Yes, Judge.
Pokemon. I love that one of the ladies looked weird at me when I said, you can just check my carry-on all the way through. Did you buy, are you first class? I said, no, but they always ask if you want to put it in the hole, so just check it all the way through to Denmark. I have to ask a manager if you can do that, or you have to pay for it. I'm helping you out. Hey, Teresa. If it doesn't have a Chili's, it's a Eddie airport. I did get some. What was it I had to eat? It was some kind of Mexican thing, but it was from Starbucks. And the only reason why I took it was because the hot sauce. The rest just looked too sugary. Yeah, could you talk to the manager about making me decide which way to travel? Oh, that sounds funny. Your favorite airport is Reykjavik.
Please be seated.
There's 2 airports in Reykjavik, and most of the times you will have to switch between them. But they're not that far apart, so I think there's like 120,000 people in Iceland. Hey, Terry. He just walked in. You could see his face when he walked in.
Please be seated.
Yes, I know, Mike.
Good morning, jurors.
One more Danish territory.
Hope you had a restful night as much as possible. I understand that some of y'all like to work out. That's great. Keep that habit up. It'll keep you from moving around like an old man. I've had to add flexibility to my routine for sure, but it's good that you have a little stress relief and keep yourself healthy. Before we start, just have to ask, as I will every morning, is everyone able to abide by the court's admonition to not be exposed to media, to not discuss the case among yourselves, and anyone see any of those things happening? Everyone able to abide by the court's admonition, please nod your head. Records reflect all heads are nodding. Okay. We're going to proceed with the direct examination of Investigator Crawford.
Yes, Your Honor.
Crawford, come on. We swear to do this.
Somebody swear affirmative. That's what we're about to get to.
She's not that hot. Hey, ladies.
Good morning, Investigator Crawford.
Good morning.
Investigator Crawford, use the
So
microphone,
let's
please.
wrap up where we left off in Mr. Chen's apartment. When you were in Mr. Chen's apartment and you saw what you believed to be blood, and then the Blue Star reacted, at that point in time, did you know whose blood that was?
I didn't know whose blood was what that was.
Did CPD take steps, more urgent steps than normal in a situation like that to try to learn whose blood that was?
Yes, we did take samples of blood, swabs of blood. We did presumptive tests through the means of Kaplan-Meier test, which essentially you're testing for potential stains or things such as to identify if it is potentially blood. We also collected carpet samples. Once those items were collected, once we had the ability to obtain a potential DNA profile from the victim, such as her toothbrush, then we submitted those items to the TBO.
And how often have you worked with the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation?
Pretty much every homicide investigation that I've had.
Do they do a majority of testing of items that are collected in a homicide case?
Correct. They do most majority of the forensic testing that's done on evidence collected in the case.
It's because I thought it was more of a Snoop Dogg than a. But wouldn't it have been because that morning she drank a bottle of wine? What? And another. What? 3 bottles. What? 4 bottles. What? 5 bottles. What? And some of that sticky, icky OE. Then she packed for a trip after the boyfriend left. Talk to me about your songs, about your John 3:16s. I talked to you about Austin 3:16, and it's Stone Cold just kicked your behind. I can't remember his promo.
Other than fingerprints are done by our APIS investigators in-house, and some of our electronic forensics, such as phones or computers, are done at Chattanooga.
Typically, how long does TBI take to
Why am I waiting for
test
that?
items and return those testing results to law enforcement?
Typically, the testing process takes.
The mom said she didn't notice anything. So they went into they saw it on the grouts in the bathroom, but he did clean it up before he left the apartment.
Extensive amount of time. Typically, when we submit a TBI request for evidence to be processed through their lab, we submit a request along with submitting evidence to their lab for testing. Typically, in a homicide case, something such as DNA takes approximately 9 months or so before we get those results. It's not that it takes them 9 months to determine exactly what it is, but it's essentially their caseload that they have at the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations that it takes them a while to get to our actual submitted evidence before they're able to conduct their investigation.
Were multiple items in this case taken to the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation for testing?
Yes, they were.
And is there a lab in Chattanooga?
No, there's not.
Where are the closest labs?
The closest labs is the main lab is in Nashville, Tennessee. And they have another lab that's close to us, being in Knoxville.
Do you recall which one these items from this case were submitted to?
Yes,
Which one?
they were submitted to the Knoxville lab. We made contact with the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. We actually requested that these pieces of evidence be tested externally as quickly as possible, meaning that we could submit them and hopefully they would take this case and put it in front of the rest of the cases to potentially identify whose blood, or what kind of blood was located inside the apartment. We were able to make contact with the lab in Knoxville with TBI, and they fulfilled their request.
So
Yeah, something's wrong with his right eye. You're right.
did you ask for urgent testing to determine whose blood was in the apartment?
Yes, that's correct.
And were they able to return those results to you?
Yes, they were.
Were you able to?
The confession happened during opening statements. They said he did it, but it was involuntary. It wasn't premeditated. So it's said in front of the jury. The defense haven't said it to anyone before they said it during opening statements.
Review those results?
Yes, I was.
Whose blood was in that apartment?
It was identified as that of Jasmine Pace.
Does TBI have protocols that they relay to law enforcement in regards to how much evidence they are able or willing to test in major cases?
Yes,
What are those,
Relaxations.
to your knowledge?
to my knowledge, specifically with DNA, for every piece of evidence, we submit they have different requirements or different things that they have in place. Specifically with DNA testing, they will only accept for testing 10 items at a time, which obviously we showed pictures earlier of potential items of evidence that had blood on them, which obviously tells us it's more than 10 items. So we have to submit the items that we believe potentially have the best result to identify someone. We're allowed to submit 10 pieces of evidence for testing, along with our DNA standards. In investigations, we collect standards from victims, persons of interest, suspects, or potentially people that may have also had the ability to be in that same scene as well. In this specific case, we were able to get a search warrant and get a buccal, which is a buccal swab, the inside of your cheek, for Mr. Jason Chen. And then we were able to first thing that was submitted was a known toothbrush for the victim that would have a high probability of her DNA being on it. Those two items were submitted to the TBI, along with other pieces of evidence.
Going back to 110 Tremont Street, you testified to searching, and the jury will see more photos. You testified to searching Jason's residence. Did you do any searches outside of the apartment building?
Yes, we did.
Where was that?
After the initial search of apartment 210 at 110 Tremont Street, in investigations, we start small and work big. We try to figure out what exactly happened in the scene, and then we expand upon that. That includes not only searching, but a neighborhood canvas to identify potential witnesses, attempt to locate video, or potentially see if other items of evidence or anything has been discarded outside of the crime scene. The first step after the apartment is I requested that investigators then go door to door and conduct a neighborhood canvas within the apartment to potentially locate any further witnesses. While that neighborhood canvas was being conducted, I subsequently went to the exterior of 110 Tremont Street and started doing a walkthrough of that area as well, to include the outer perimeter, the parking lot area.
It's called the modern alfalfa. The spike is in the middle of the head instead of the back of the head.
And dumpsters located there. I expanded further past that. We had search teams conducted in the wooded areas and the residential areas, potentially locating further pieces of evidence, attempting to locate the victim. To the extent, I found a manhole cover at the rear of the apartments that was partially exposed and seemed to be that it had been moved recently. I personally entered that manhole and crawled 70 feet underground. We try to extensively search the entire area to include all the dumpsters as well.
Would it be fair to say that you do everything that you can possibly think to do in a location such as this with such a large amount of blood?
With the manner and resources that we have, yes.
Okay. And let's go back to the dumpsters. Were there dumpsters? Jury saw some Google Map images. Were there dumpsters next to Mr. Chen's apartment building?
Yes, there were.
And were you present when there was, and you can explain it to the jury, what kind of search or investigation was done into the dumpsters?
At first, even with exterior locations that we searched, the process is still the same in terms of how it's done. The first part is a walkthrough to potentially identify via the naked eye items of potentially evidentiary value that we potentially want to collect or have further interest in. So such as a dumpster, the first thing I'm not going to do is go in there and start ripping every trash bag out or every piece of clothing, because I want that documented by photographs prior to any of that being done. In this specific case, I entered the dumpster area. If you remember correctly, there was a wooden gated fence to kind of hide the outside of it from the street, from the residents. I subsequently opened that wooded door and entered that area where two dumpsters were located. Upon entering that area, I observed a few items of clothing on the ground and a sanitary pad, a women's sanitary pad, that appeared to potentially have what appeared to be blood and seemed out of place. Once I observed that, I subsequently notified our crimes unit that we were also going to have further evidence that needed to be processed outside of Part 2.
What else was the evidence that you just spoke of, including the sanitary pad, where was it when you opened the doors that covered the dumpsters?
Upon entering the closed dumpster area, the fence, it was just a few feet inside of the doorway, on the floor, on the ground, on the concrete ground, outside of the dumpsters. There was trash in those dumpsters, but these items were discarded on the ground outside the dumpsters.
Just laying there for you to see,
Correct.
not inside of the dumpster.
That's correct.
Was there clothing there?
Yes, that's correct.
What type of clothing?
There were a pair of pants, a pair of shoes, a women's sanitary pad.
Did anything stand out to you about the pants?
The pants appeared to have what appeared to be possibly blood on them.
Discoloration?
Discoloration consistent with blood.
Do you recall what kind of shoes they were?
They were white in color, dirty, white in color candy style shoes with a white sole on them, low tops. I believe they were around the size of 11 or 11 and a half.
One moment, Your Honor.
So they possibly found her clothes and a sanitary pad in a dumpster outside of the house. Did he then undress her and throw the clothes out before he put her in the suitcase, or was she in a state of undressed? But wouldn't that be with her sanitary pad, whatever it's called? Why are criminals stupid? No, never ever update any courtroom decor. We did it when we built a new courtroom. It's horrible. It's way too modern, way too ugly. I hate it. Go back, dark wood, presence, intimidating, feel the law in the room. I hate modern building. Architects should go back to school and learn how to build instead of making all that crappy, square, boring. I don't like architects.
Approach you, Investigator Crawford, with 1, 2, 3, 6 photos. They're stapled
add
today.
audio,
Can you look
yes.
through those?
We have these automated blinds to save energy or whatever it is, or to keep the And it takes forever to go down. Every time they go up and down, we have to stop because they make so much noise.
What is the victim then?
It's, the photos are that of the dumpster area, the enclosure, and that of the items I described earlier that were on the ground.
Do those photos accurately represent what that area looked like on November 28, 2022?
That's correct.
Your Honor, I'd ask that this exhibit be the state's next exhibit, and the state did try to assist the court reporter, so we have the yellow stickers on these. These have the -1, -2, so they could be a collective with the dashes.
Collective 83.
Judge?
Yes, collective 83.
All right, Investigator Crawford, I'm gonna post these on the screen behind you. Simply the doors of the dumpster, correct?
That's correct.
This is State's Exhibit 83-1. State's Exhibit 83-2. What does this depict?
This is a photograph from the interior of the dumpster area since I began it.
And what can you see on the ground there?
You can see the discarded clothing, the pair of shoes I was describing, a sanitary pad, and there's also a pair of wood piercing women's underwear.
State's Exhibit 83-3. What is this?
It's a closer up shot of what we just observed. That also shows the same items, the pants, the shoes, the sanitary pad, and the women's underwear.
And can you point out what discoloration you were referring to on the pants?
That's correct. There's a reddish brown discoloration. Once again, this green, the reddish color seems to fade out as bright as the normal pictures do. But there's a reddish brown stain there as well.
Was there a large amount of stains on those jeans?
Yes.
And I can't recall if you actually named the brand. Were you able to determine what brand of shoe that was?
I believe they were Vans.
Investigator Crawford, were you present for the autopsy that was performed in this case on Miss Pace's body?
Yes, I was.
Is that typical of a homicide investigator?
Yes.
And you remain in the room for a majority of at least the initial autopsy?
Yes, we did.
Were you there when the medical examiner began to examine Miss Pace's body when she did have clothing on?
That's correct.
Were you there when the medical examiner began to take her clothing off so that he could examine her body?
Yes, that's correct.
Was Miss Pace, did she appear to be on her menstrual cycle?
Yes, that's correct.
Did she have a sanitary pad on that resembled the sanitary pad in the photo behind you?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, we're gonna move on. So you've searched Mr. Chen's apartment.
No, apparently she was on her period. So, but again, some people like to ride the road, Red Sea. So it could be that they might have been intimate. We don't know.
You've identified Jasmine Pace's blood in the apartment. And would it be fair to say that Jason Chen was a suspect in Jasmine Pace's murder at this point?
Yes, that's correct.
And so
I'm not
did
sure.
you at this point, or maybe you even began before, at what point did you begin to look into Jason Chen as a suspect and as a person of interest?
I didn't get it. Maybe she was in her underwear or in a t-shirt or something, because they only found pants and a sanitary pad and a pair of shoes. So she could be partially dressed. Hey, Colleen T. What?
Interest.
Originally, he became.
Maybe she changed it and put it
person of interest,
in the trash can.
at
Yeah.
the beginning, when I was brought into the investigation, just due to the fact that we had a missing persons under suspicious circumstances, and it is extremely uncommon with my experience as a law enforcement investigator that a significant other not be a part of the process in attempting to locate that missing person. So due to the lack of communication, I believe him to be a person of interest after law enforcement attempted to reach out to him with no callback.
Did you try?
Yes.
So in your investigation of Jason Chen as a suspect, what preliminary information were you able to gather about Mr. Chen?
First, we identified his residence. Obviously, at apartment 210 and 110 Tremont Street. We identified a phone number associated with Jason Chen.
Oh, stay in chat.
Via numerous individuals. We also identified his vehicle being a 2018 Toyota Camry that we're unable to locate. We identified that he was a
The only real thing we have about their relationship is the mom said, I didn't know him. And then the defense talked about they had met on Tinder and it was a growing relationship. So yes, that part they need to explain better.
currently enrolled at University of Tennessee, Chattanooga as a student. Identified that his family appeared to be from the Nolensville, Tennessee area. We identified a home address from there as well. We also looked into historical addresses for Jason Chen, to include his residence in Chattanooga prior to his time being a resident at 110 Tremont Street. We also attempted to identify family members and associates of Mr. Chen.
What county is Nolensville in?
Williamson County.
Were you ever able to locate Mr. Chen in Chattanooga?
No.
Do you happen to recall, this is a difficult question, what Mr. Chen's phone number is? If not, that's okay.
Oh, thank you, Holly Mac. I didn't
That's okay.
have a hard time hearing.
What kind of vehicle did Mr. Chen drive?
A gray 2018 Toyota Camry with its Tennessee tag BJF 0062.
Gray Toyota Camry 2018.
That's correct.
At some point, were you able to access Jasmine Pace's cell phone records?
Yes, that's correct.
Did she also have Mr. Chen's number saved in her phone?
I don't know if she had it saved in her phone due to her cellular device not being recovered, but we were able to get her phone records from Verizon.
How many investigators with the police department do you estimate that tried to contact Mr. Chen during this week?
I know that 2 investigators attempted to make contact via phone communication. I know that during the hours leading up to before I was notified about the investigation, I believe a patrol supervisor also attempted the contact number for Jason Chen. We also attempted to make contact with other family members and friends in the Chattanooga area before moving on to Nolensville.
At some point, did you become aware that Mr. Chen was most likely in Nolensville?
Yes, that's correct.
And how's that?
On November 28th,
No, Brandon.
we
Bad,
applied
Brandon.
for a search warrant for Mr. Chen's phone records to include historical data and have real-time ping locations to be readily available. Real-time ping locations is essentially a 10 to 15 minute ping where the phone company will ping the phone essentially, and it'll provide an estimated location. They would send those records to us every 10 to 15 minutes. Would be provided in a GPS style lat long coordinates. As soon as we started getting those coordinates, we were notified that his phone device was showing in the Nolensville, Tennessee area.
And at that point, did you have an address for his parents' home?
We did.
So that ping, the ping information. So once you had access to that from the provider, do you recall who the provider for Mr. Chen's cell phone service was?
It was T-Mobile.
You essentially were able to track him.
Correct. It's only, the ping locations at that time, that was the only information that we were provided by the phone company. And it's only real time up from the point that they send that information. At that point, we didn't have any historical data to potentially track or see his communications or anything like that. We didn't receive those to a later date. So we're attempting to track his location. Sometimes the ping locations don't provide an exact precise location based on the quality of the phone reception. So sometimes the ping locations were a larger area and essentially give a neighborhood location or within city limits. But at some points they were pretty precise and showed locations consistent being with his parents' address.
Okay. Was a search warrant for Jason Chen's parents' home applied for?
Yes, that's correct.
Was it issued?
Yes, that's correct.
And were you present when that search warrant was executed on his parents' home in Nolensville, Tennessee?
Yes, that is correct.
How many people from the Chattanooga Police Department went with you?
We had 4 people from the homicide division, being myself, Detective Seach, Detective Daryl Slaughter, and one of our homicide supervisors, Sergeant Miller. I also contacted crime unit to have a part of their team also respond for assistance with documentation, scene, and collecting evidence. We had them respond to the scene based on conversations with Nolensville PD and their capabilities of crime team in terms of how they can collect evidence. They felt more suited that our Chattanooga Police Department crime unit would be more suited to handle this.
When you arrived at the home, who answered the door?
The parents of Jason Chen were the first people to answer the door.
What'd you tell them?
I advised them that I had a search warrant for the residence. I requested that they exit the residence and also requested if any other parties were inside the residence at that time.
Was Jason Chen at the residence?
He was.
When did you first make contact with him in terms of see his actual person?
After speaking with Jason's parents about the search warrant and asking requested to leave the residence or to step out of the residence so we could execute the search warrant, Jason's father actually yelled, "Jason." I observed him exit a door on the second level of the home. It was a 2-story residence. It's a 2-story residence. As you enter, there's a staircase to the right, and there's like a cross balcony, which allows you to see access to that room. I observed that room door open, and I observed Jason Chen exit that room before walking down the stairs and greeting me at the front door.
I'm gonna have you turn around. Investigator Crawford, this is a Google Maps, just typed into the search bar. Do you recognize this location?
Yes, I do.
And what is the what is the address? Do you recall what the address is? We'll go back.
1943 Ashburn Court, Nolensville, Tennessee.
Okay, so there we are. What is this? Sorry.
That's Jason Chen's parent residence.
This is the residence that you showed up to at the front door with that search warrant that you were just discussing.
That's correct.
I look like those kind of houses. They look so cozy. We don't really build like this where I live. So I like these types. So when I get my $1 million from the Sarah Boone case, I'm gonna look for a house like this. he was staying at the parents' house. That's why they got a warrant on it. Yeah, it's a lot of pictures. Dang it. Well, I knew $1 million was too good to be true. That's why if you join my Patreon, pay $2,500 a month to see me talk to you. If you pay me another $2,500, grift is gonna grift. And I still don't have a Patreon.
Oh, I'm sorry, defense counsel's reviewing the photos.
Hey, Jinx. Well, to summarize the morning, they found bloody clothes near the apartment, near some dumpsters. What seemed to be her pants and a sanitary pad, and maybe his shoe, because it was size 11 or size 11 and a half, which is a very big foot. But other than that, we're just putting in a whole lot of pictures and hearing how they didn't have money to do all the investigations that they wanted to do, but did the most they could with the money they are allowed to spend. He's very, very hard to hear because he's not on the microphone, and she's very clear. You can clearly hear her, but I have a hard time listening to him. Just pay the builders in cheese, or build a house out of cheese.
Yes, Robert, I'm sorry, Judge, should have made that clear. You felt too crazy.
Nope, that's the wrong one still. Is ASL Lou Gehrig disease? I could see how that might be funny.
Yes, we're probably not showing a handful of photos.
Brandon. Your daughter wants to learn BSL. Is that the British Sign Language? Today, Junior. Well, I think a lady with a size 11, isn't that quite a, I think I'm a 10 and a half. So, and she wasn't that big. She would be a really good swimmer if she had those size feet.
You will flip through those photos for me.
I always wondered that if sign language was the same all over the planet, because it should be, a cat should just be a cat. Doesn't matter if it's called a gatto or a cat or cat, as we do in Denmark. Yeah, something like that. Why not just have one shoe size? A 42 is a 42 and a 44 is a 44. That's how we measure them.
Investigator Crawford, do you recognize the contents of these photos?
Yes, I do.
Do they accurately represent both 1943 Ashburn Court on the night that the search warrant was executed and also the way that Mr. Chen appeared when you made contact with him and when he was first spoken to by police?
Yes, that's correct.
And I apologize, let me number these real quick. What would the next exhibit number be?
Starting at 84.
Would you like for these to be numbered individually or dashes? 84, 85, 86?
Just large amount, let's go make them separate exhibits.
Okay.
84 through 114.
Investigator Crawford, while I'm numbering these, did Mr. Chen make any statements to you when he was first contacted?
You have questions for me?
Questions about the search warrant?
He, the first contact was made with parents, explaining to get a search warrant for the residence. Once Jason Chen was down there, I also advised him the exact same thing. I advised him to get a search warrant for the residence. I also advised him that he was going to be detained and taken to the Nolensville Police Department. We had a search warrant for his person, with a collection of evidence such as DNA, fingerprints, photographs, and other things that were on the search warrant. At which point, Jason asked if we had any more warrants, which then I advised him we would talk to him further at the Nolensville Police Department.
Can you describe for the jury what Mr. Jason Chen's demeanor was?
More defensive?
Would you describe him as calm?
Yes.
Did he tell you at that time that he wanted to tell you what happened?
No, he's really, really, really low. And when she's shuffling the papers, it's louder than him because he doesn't do this. And I don't understand why no one tells him, could you please move your mic closer to your mouth?
Did he tell you at that time that he wanted
Council
to?
President.
Councilor Roach. No, it's really annoying. They told the mom yesterday to talk into the microphone. This guy is constantly doing this where he's talking to the jury, so we can't hear what he's saying. They should tell him to use the microphone correctly.
What, if anything, did
We had a what if anything.
Mr. Jason Chen tell you that night?
He made another statement.
I haven't checked it.
That he asked if we had spoken to his lawyer yet.
And other than that, did
But
he
we
say
used that
anything else?
yesterday, and that was the same with him.
No, we attempted to identify and try to make contact with the lawyer. At this point in time, it was approximately 2 a.m., knowing that it became difficult to potentially get an attorney on the phone at that time, and also potentially respond to Nolensville, Tennessee, was difficult. We attempted, Daryl Slaughter attempted to speak with him at the Nolensville Police Department after he was processed.
Objection. Very correct.
There's a lot of stuff they don't want in today. But again, yeah, that's probably the stuff he said when they gave him the not the affidavit, the search warrant, and he probably said some things that goes against I did it, but I didn't mean to do it. Theory that they are running with now. That's probably why. Well, it doesn't matter as long as you don't talk into a microphone. It doesn't matter if you have 45 microphones. The problem isn't he's not mic'd up, because we heard it yesterday with the other witnesses. They were told, could you adjust the mic? And they should tell everyone. We see it every time in a courtroom, because then they will sit like this and you can't hear anything. But normally the judge will say, could you please talk into the microphone? Because it really helps with the audio.
Investigator Crawford, we're going to go through the photos that you just reviewed that have been placed into evidence. I'll have you turn around to the screen. What does this photo depict?
This is a photograph, me on the left-hand side, other officers on the right-hand side. You can see just inside the doorway is Jason Chen's father, and you can see Jason Chen to the left as well.
with a hat on.
That's correct.
That's State's Exhibit 84. State's Exhibit 85. Again, what do we see in this photo?
Once again, it's a photograph of the doorway area that depicts Jason Chen's father on the right-hand side. And on the left-hand side of the picture walking away is Jason Chen.
And were separate photos of Mr. Chen taken once he was transported to the Nolensville Police Department?
Yes, that's correct.
State's Exhibit 86. Is this one of those photos?
Yes, that is correct.
And are the photos taken exactly as he came out of the house that night?
Correct.
He looks very different.
87, for the record, can you read what that hat says?
The hat says anything goes.
In the course of your investigation, did you see this hat any other times and
Yes, I
places?
did.
State's Exhibit 88, side profile of Mr. Chen.
Yes, that's correct.
State's Exhibit 89, of course, a close-up of anything goes hat.
Yes, that's correct.
All right, so you testified that,
Is this a commercial for Hennessy or what? Anything goes. I don't get the joke.
Mr. Chen walked out of a room when you first saw him in the home. What kind of room was that?
It was a bedroom that had a small piece of furniture to include a desk and bed.
Did you subsequently assist in searching that room?
Yes, I did.
State's Exhibit 90. Is this a photo of that bedroom?
That's correct. It's a photograph taken once you enter the room, so the left-hand side of the room.
Did you happen to open up that red box?
Yes, I did.
State's Exhibit 91 will be the photo being shown currently. What is that?
It's a cell phone.
In what appears to be some kind of jewelry box, is that correct?
Correct. The red box is a jewelry box with jewelry and other items that are stuffed in there. You see on the bottom half of the jewelry box, the black top half of a iPhone cell phone.
In State's Exhibit 92, a closer up of that cell phone.
Yes, that's correct.
Does the cell phone have a case on it?
Yes, that's correct.
And what is that other item attached to the phone?
It's a ID/credit card holder. There's one of those stick-on ones you can put on the back of a cell phone.
Did you ever see this piece of evidence again throughout your investigation?
Yes, I did.
Did the Chattanooga Police Department collect this cell phone?
Yes, we did.
Is this at eventually, we'll get there, but is this the phone that a forensic download was completed on at the Chattanooga Police Department?
Yes, that's correct.
State's Exhibit 93. Explain to the jury what we're seeing here.
It's a separate angle of the same room we've seen photographs of. The first one shows the bed there.
What? Why? Why do you have this weird doll standing next to your bed? Imagine waking up and looking into this in the morning if you're a little hungover and forgot you put a doll there. Stress P alert.
Area include the small shelving area with the jewelry box on top. This is an angle that picks up the back corner of the left-hand side of the room. Then you can see the door and you can see a chair which leads to a desk.
State's Exhibit 94. Is that a photo of the desk?
That's correct.
And there are what kind of items on the desk?
There is handwritten notes. There's a binder. There are glasses, Jason Chen's wallet, and a laptop computer.
Were those glasses collected that day, do you recall?
I do not recall. No photographs were taken.
State's Exhibit 95. Were these note cards collected from the desk?
Yes, that's correct.
State's Exhibit 96. Again, this is a close-up showing again the glasses.
Yes, that's correct.
This is even more of a close-up, closer to the glasses, and then you can see that there's a notebook there with what appears to be writing on it.
Yes, that's correct.
And what is that black object behind that notebook?
It's a
Just screams single man. We don't need that much stuff.
wallet.
Was the wallet collected
Yes, that's correct.
in the notebook?
Yes, that's correct.
Your Honor, may I have the deputies flip off the screen light? Investigator Crawford, were you able to review these note cards?
Yes, that's correct.
I'm going to give you a 6 Exhibit 98, I'll give you the actual copy, or whatever one is easiest to read. Here. Do you see this note up here? It says Crawford.
Yes, that's correct.
That's your last name, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And 423-443-0667, what is that?
That's my cell phone number.
All right, and then let's go down here. Can you please read that out loud to the jury?
Saturday, starting from the top down. Saturday, November 19th, last time I saw her. Tuesday, November 22nd, last time she called. She has been a, scribble out word, long history of running away from her parents, comma, ran away to Canada, comma, has a restraining order against her ex, period.
And can you read this scribble here?
For those of you who couldn't hear it, it sounded kind of like an explanation if he got caught. The last time he heard from her was the 19th. She ran away from home the 22nd to Canada, and she has a restraining order against her ex. So it could kind of imply that he was making a story to tell if the police got him. Well, he's probably not on that phone anymore.
Starting from the top, it
Yes,
says she has a long history of running away from her parents. And then bottom, I believe it says great.
and then this note here.
Starting from the top down, it says talk to the 26th. And then it says missing.
Sorry,
It says at the bottom half, it says missing.
on that note part right there.
Correct.
This is a close-up, State's Exhibit 99 of other notes, correct?
That is correct.
Did these numbers mean anything to you?
Not right now.
And that you where it says approach them, and then it looks like there's a note with some ring finger sizes.
Yes, that's correct.
Just a close-up of some of the things that you just read, correct?
Correct.
Can you, by any chance, I don't know if you'll be able to see if you can read this closer up, that purple note part?
Yes.
What does it say?
If law enforcement contacts other family members, what to do, they do.
That was State's
Do they?
Exhibit. I'm sorry, did you say something else? I
I
cut you off?
corrected myself. It says, what do they do?
Okay, State's Exhibit 100. This is a close-up of the State's Exhibit 101 of what you had previously read, correct?
That's correct.
Saturday, November 19th, last time I saw her. Tuesday, November 22nd, last time she called. She has a long history of running away from her parents. Ran away to Canada, has a restraining order against her ex. Yeah, so that's the one I just said.
Close-up of what you previously read, State's Exhibit 102.
Talked to her mom on the 26th.
Correct.
Yes, that's correct.
This is a
November 19th, last time I saw her, she would call me once a day. Last time was on the November 22nd on, I can't read the last part.
another note here.
Correct.
Okay, can you start with the top note and go ahead and read
I'll try that. Thank you, Helen.
This note at the top, I read the first part of that note in one of the previous pictures. The top note says, talk to her mom on the 26th. And it says at the bottom of that note, missing person yesterday.
And then let's go ahead and start reading the bottom note.
Oh yeah, that's way better audio. We're gonna use this instead. This is way better, way more louder.
I believe it says TUES, T-U-E-S, in scribble writing.
State's Exhibit 104, this was the notebook that was sitting underneath the glasses, is that correct?
That's
Thank you,
correct.
Helen.
And let's go ahead and read this a little more clear here.
From the top down, it states Friday, November 18th, last time I saw her. Tuesday, November 22nd, last time we talked. She has a huge history of running away from her home in her teenage years. Mom was an alcoholic, ran away to Canada for several years and was homeless. Her dad left when she was a kid as a restraining order against her ex. The next bulletin says she was recently online on Facebook, and the bottom says next to Kim.
States Exhibit 105, is this an opened photo, a photo of the opened wallet that was on that desk?
Yes, it is.
And what was inside?
Inside of the wallet, the crimes unit took out the two Tennessee state identification cards to show that those items were found inside of that wallet, to show also potentially identity, potential possessor of that wallet. Further inside of that wallet, miscellaneous credit and debit cards were found in there, along with the health insurance card.
Were these two of the cards that were found inside that wallet?
Yes, that's correct.
What are the last four digits on that Regions Bank card?
4189
And the expiration date
05/26.
and the name?
Jason W. Chen.
Were there other bedrooms in the home that law enforcement went through?
Correct. We went through the entirety now.
Okay. Was there a bedroom upstairs with a bed that had sort of striped sheets on it?
That's
Do you
correct.
recall?
There were multiple bedrooms upstairs. I have to see pictures.
Is this one of the bedrooms that was upstairs?
No, it's not.
Where was this bedroom?
That bedroom was located actually directly below the first bedroom we saw photographs of. I described going into the residence, going up the stairwell, coming back over a catwalk style balcony to this side of the house, the left-hand side of the house. So the first room we looked at would be the top left. This room would be directly under it in the bottom left. So if you were to enter going to the living room area, the far left corner of the residence, where would be this bedroom located.
And is that the bedroom in the photo behind you?
That's correct.
States Exhibit 106. What is that black object on the bed?
It's a North Face backpack.
States Exhibit 107, is that a closer up of that backpack?
Yes, that is correct.
Again, 108. Different angle with the North Face logo that you can see.
Correct. It's after it's photographed, and once the searches began, they now flip the backpack, the document, the other side of the backpack.
Burberry bed sheets. That's some expensive bed sheeting, I think.
Were you able to identify whose backpack that is?
At the time when I observed the backpack in that room, I observed it to be consistent with.
This is his parents' house in Memphis, not his apartment.
A backpack Jason Chen was seen with in the days after the homicide and before, and contents within the backpack indicative of Jason Chen being the possessor of that backpack.
Was that backpack collected by the police department?
That's correct.
Can you tell the jury what kind of items were in that backpack?
There was all sorts of miscellaneous items that one could find in a backpack, specifically potentially someone that was, had left the residence. There was multiple items to include umbrella, eyeglass case. There was a lot of different items.
Did you observe an eyeglasses case in the backpack?
Yes, there was a black eyeglass case in the backpack.
What was inside the eyeglasses case?
Miscellaneous items to also include a Verizon SIM card.
This is his parents' house. That's why they showed the picture of the house, the address, showed the pictures of him being apprehended there, and this is from the search of the apartment. They are now going to talk about the SIM card found in his backpack, in his glasses case. That was her SIM card. Again, why are criminals this stupid? You're dumping her body at the river, but keeping her SIM card. Just dump the SIM card.
Were you able to locate Mr. Chen's vehicle?
Yes, we were.
Where was it?
It was parked within the garage of that residence, a single car garage.
Was the garage door closed?
Yes, it was.
Were there vehicles in the driveway?
Yes, there were.
How many?
There were 2.
States Exhibit 112. What is the jury looking at here?
This is a photograph of from the doorway from the interior of the residence looking back into the garage. You can see the 2018 Toyota Camry. I described it as a single car garage. There are 2 doors, but it appears that they used half of the garage for storage. So there isn't really room for another car to be in there. So you'll see the car parked in there, and it's very tight quarters based on the amount of items that are in the garage. It's hard to move around and get around. So.
Were you able to verify based on the license tag that this vehicle was the vehicle registered to Jason Chen?
The Tennessee license plate and its VIN number.
And the VIN number, you said?
Yes, that's correct.
Just a closer up of Mr. Chen's gray Toyota Camry.
Yes, that's correct.
And then lastly here, Mr. Chen's license plate, is that correct?
That's correct.
Did law enforcement confiscate Mr. Chen's vehicle?
We did collected his evidence at that time.
Was it taken to the Chattanooga Police Department?
Yes, it was during execution search warrant. That vehicle was then taken by tow and taken back to Chattanooga Police Department for further processing of evidence.
Were you able to enter that vehicle at any point in time?
Yes, we applied for a search warrant for the search and processing of that vehicle, at which point it was granted. After the search warrant was granted, signed off, then we executed the search warrant and began processing that vehicle.
No, he wasn't. He was at his mom and dad's house after he ran away from his apartment. His apartment was in Chattanooga, and he was in his parents' house in Memphis.
Did Mr. Chen's car smell like marijuana?
No.
So if we're going chronologically, this search warrant was executed. Chronologically in the investigation, what major event happened next?
The search warrant is executed. Mr. Chen is transported to the Milledgeville Police Department. Subsequently, after he was transported, we concluded the search warrant at 1943 Ashburn Court to include collecting evidence and taking possession of the 2018 Toyota Camry. That was subsequently towed back to the Chattanooga Police Department, followed by law enforcement investigators. After that was towed back, Mr. Chen was transported to the Williamson County Jail. We subsequently drove back to the Chattanooga Police Department, where then Mr. Chen was only placed under an NCIC hold, an investigative hold at that point. When we came back, I applied for an arrest warrant through the Hamilton County Magistrate's Office, at which point he was signed off for at the time for criminal homicide.
And at this point in time, did anybody know where Jasmine was?
No.
Were investigators and other law enforcement officers at the Chattanooga Police Department actively looking for Ms. Pace?
We didn't stop until we located him.
What day was that arrest warrant issued?
The arrest warrant, it was issued on November 30th, 2020.
And do you recall what day it was that Jasmine's body was located on the side of the Tennessee River off of Sutt Creek Road?
On December 1st.
I'm not going to go into too much detail, but were you notified when Jasmine's body was located?
Yes, that's correct.
Did you report to that area where the suitcase had been found?
Yes, that's correct.
And then subsequently, did the medical examiner also arrive at that scene off of Sup Creek Road?
Yes, that's correct.
And was it after that that you also went to the medical examiner's office for the autopsy?
That's correct.
Can you explain the difference for the jury between a forensic download of a cell phone versus obtaining cell phone records via search warrant?
Correct.
Can you explain the difference?
So you'll hear it during this trial that there's potentially items get brought forward. There is a forensic download of the cell phone. What that actually is actually having the device, at which point it's hooked up to a programming system after a search warrant applied for, consent is given for the phone. Essentially, one of our electronic evidence unit investigators will then utilize a set of programs to essentially crack into the phone if it has passcode. If it has passcode, sometimes we have the ability based on the programming to bypass that passcode. Once they're allowed inside the phone based on the programming, then essentially almost all contents from the phone is forensically extracted from that device. So the things that are going to show up in phone records are going to be the apps associated with that device. Certain things like iMessages that are communicated differently, can be communicated over a Wi-Fi signal, will be different than your phone records because of how they're electronically communicated through the device. So inside that device, you'll also have your photographs that you've taken on your device. You'll have videos. You'll have internet search history. And some apps also allow for extraction of data, where other apps do not. So sometimes you may get Facebook messages. The way that it communicates on your phone in the store, you'll actually get those potential communications via Facebook, but you don't get to see everything that happens with Facebook and how the extraction occurs. It doesn't show you their activity, their search history in terms of those apps. With the phone records themselves, the forensic download of the phone comes from the phone itself. Without the phone, we cannot do the forensic extraction of that actual device. So the other way to get potential records for someone, cellular records, is to go through the phone provider with either consent, subpoena, or search warrant applied for. We provide those things to the phone providers, but then we get the reports back from the phone providers on whatever we requested from them. Those reports typically will have the subscriber information that shows who that device is potentially registered to or that account is registered to. It will have cell phone records to include their call data reports or CDR reports, which will show generally the phone number associated with the device, who it called, when it called. It'll also have different types of location data, and they're called different things based on the phone provider themselves. They just have different classifications on how they report the data. So they will provide essentially, I hate to say GPS style coordinates because that's not the way that they really are on how they're triangulated. But they will provide location data if it's available. They will provide call records, such as call logs. They will provide SMS or MMS text message data showing when text messages occurred. And sometimes, not frequently, we will get content. Sometimes certain phone providers will do a very minimal, typically less than a week or about a week of actual content that's transmitted. So it'll actually have content of what was text message. But typically we don't get that content. The content we get from the actual text messages would be from the actual device itself. From the forensic reports, how we get that. From the phone reports from the company, all we can tell is that a call was made or a text message was placed, who it was to, who it was from, if it was completed, how long the call was, and where that device was located when these things were happening.
On the forensic download, where you actually need the physical phone, are you able to tell what has been deleted?
Part of the process of the program itself, it does have the ability to potentially re-extract items that were deleted. It will identify and report if items were deleted. But depending on how that deletion of that phone occurred, we don't have any idea if items were deleted prior, other than having something else to corroborate, something has been changed to that phone. So a lot of times when something is deleted, like a photograph or potentially a text conversation or a call log, we are not able to recover those from the device.
Was the Chattanooga Police Department able to obtain Mr. Chen's cell phone records from T-Mobile?
Yes, that's correct.
Was the Chattanooga Police Department able to obtain Jasmine Pace's cell phone records?
Yes, that's
And that
correct.
provider was who?
Jasmine Pace's provider was Verizon.
And did the Chattanooga Police Department do a forensic download on Mr. Chen's cell phone?
We did.
Which cell phone, based on the photos the jury has seen today, was that?
It was the cellular device that was located in the red jewelry box within that upper room at 1943 Ashburn Court with the clear case in the backing on it, which I believe is for Boston College.
Do you have experience in reviewing a forensic download?
Yes.
Describe that for the jury.
Depending on how long someone's had a device or how active they are on the device, the reports can be very extensive, or they can be minimal, depending on their activity. You know, if you have someone that's had the phone for maybe a week, that doesn't communicate a lot, doesn't take photographs, doesn't do those things, it's a very quick extraction. There's not a lot of data that comes back because there's not a lot of activity on there. If you find a device that someone's had in possession for a couple of years, it can potentially store thousands and thousands of pages of documentation to include photographs, timelines, associated apps, and call logs, text messages, all sorts of things. So they will be extracted and put into this forensic report, where then we're able to review it, because obviously it potentially comes in raw form with raw data. I'm no computer expert in terms of reviewing raw data, but when it comes back in the report, we're able to review those forensic extraction reports and review the contents of that file.
Is there a name for the software that's used to review those extraction reports?
There are different names. There's Celebrite is one, and Axiom is another one as well.
The Chattanooga Police Department utilized Celebrite?
Yes, that is, Celebrite is actually.
Boom. Throw all of the evidence out. You can't trust Cellbrite. They had an update. Dr. Green cannot testify. Don't trust anything.
The forensic tool, one of the forensic tools that is utilized to forensically extract that information from the device.
Do you have much experience with Cellbrite?
Yes.
Oh, so
Approximately how many times would you say that you have performed forensic downloads and reviewed those downloads of cellular devices?
I've requested many, I don't know a number in terms of how many search warrants were applied for, consents were given for cellular devices where forensic downloads have been completed, and we're submitting to our electronics evidence unit and they include those downloads. I've not only reviewed evidence in terms of my own cases, but other people's cases as well, within the homicide unit and other investigative units upon request. Hundreds, I don't know.
Okay. And were you able to review the forensic download of Mr. Chen's phone?
Yes, I will.
I got 84 through 114, so 115 would be next.
I'm doing a case tomorrow that's has to do with, I think, fraud by defrauding people online by selling stuff and stuff like that. We will probably be watching a whole heck of a lot of Cellbrite for that, to prove communications and that she just to prove it's her phone and all of that. And it's just only in Canton it doesn't work.
The court was making sure that last batch vote was admitted. Yes, for those who admitted.
Your Honor, I didn't. I'd ask those people to make mistakes next to it.
84 through 115.
Could be Beanie Babies. Normally they're just boring and trying to sell an iPhone and cheat people that way. I don't know. I'll find out tomorrow. Move it, move it, move it, go fast. Move it, move it, move it. It's a drag. Get through it, faster, faster.
We're gonna coach you. A handful of photos. This one goes together. The rest are separate. Look at those.
Bum, ba-dum, bum, bum. More photos, more photos. Mhm. Another sidebar. I prefer our cuddle pups. I don't know what a cuddle pup is, but sounds cutie. Imagine being a juror and looking at the pictures we saw.
Pretty much went by, it's about 11, so I've taken a midpoint break. I think we're going to go about another 30 minutes of this next line of questioning. Do the jurors prefer a break now, or you want to wait for another 30 minutes or so? You don't need a break now, Rachel. Okay, one, okay, that's enough. All right. So we're going to take a break now. It's 5 minutes to 11. Probably back here at.
And then they were asked to leave the house.
Well, a whole lot of laying foundation, not so much anything else. We're going to get into the Selbride report. Probably the most damning thing for me, as I see it, is the timelines. That seemed weird that he had written out those timelines last time I talked to her, last time she contacted me. Her mom ran away to Canada and was an alcoholic. To me, I would read, and again, I'm just what I would. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know anything. But if I was a juror, I would find that odd that, again, he's claiming he did it by accident, but he didn't contact the popo. And then he had these handwritten notes in his room about a timeline that he could give to the police, kind of to try and throw them off. I would find that kind of shady. It's a good tie knot too, but it's part of a boring outfit attached to a dollar. My sister had pound puppies. I remember those. There was a cartoon with them. Speculation on when this goes to the jury. They said 10 days. And I think, sadly, with the tempo we're going today, yesterday we went super fast. I think with the tempo we're going today, it's going to take forever. I still think the state, this is the lead investigator. They have all the photos. They have all the Selbride. Then you just need the ME. You need someone to show how much of a relationship they were in. I think if they are efficient and the problem is sometimes you want to put too much in. They should be done by tomorrow, in my opinion, because you need the Selbride report to show where his phone was and the communication that he might have had with her. You need the ME to talk about how bad her body was. You need photos of where her body was found. You need to prove that, well, that's through the ME, that she had no alcohol, no weed in her system. You have the mom to say, we didn't know they had any kind of relationship. Maybe they have the Tinder profile. Maybe they have communication that shows something else. You have to put that in there. But other than that, I can't see what you're going to waste 5, 6, 7 days on. My biggest problem is always American courts take way too long. well, they'll need to lead foundation for an appeal. You can do that way faster. The problem is they throw everything in the kitchen sink, and then they go to Bed Bath and Beyond and buy another kitchen sink and throw that at it, and then they're going to get a plumber to throw him at it. Again, this case isn't complicated. Her blood is at the apartment. We're going to need a DNA expert. The wounds to her body was very enraged, stabbed through and through the neck. The tip broke off in the back of her ribs. That's the ME who's going to tell you that. You don't need all these 45 people to talk about anything. You have that he cleaned the crime scene. You have that he bought the remedies to clean the crime scene. You have the mom saying, we didn't know there was any relationship of such. You have her clothes at the apartment. You have her DNA at the apartment. You have his fingerprints on the inside the suitcase, and you have a confession that he did it. My problem is they're going to use way too much time to try and prove a case that they don't need to prove. This guy looks like he never smiled in his life. You don't remember when Karen Reed makes a face or smiles, then everyone says, well, she's clearly guilty because she smiles or makes a face. Do this in court. Then no one can say anything. Seems like he was getting his story together for something he doesn't remember doing. Yeah. I don't think he planned this beforehand, but he definitely planned out his action afterwards. Maybe not an accidental stipulation. The problem is premeditation doesn't have to be, I'm going to lure her to the apartment, I'm then going to stabulate her, I'm then going to dump her. Premeditation can just be, she's nagging, I'm going to stabulate her. That's premeditation enough to make it first degree. Yeah, I didn't like those one. The Dulos case had written timelines. I don't know the Dulos case. Thank you. And don't hide all the good stuff with crap. No, because then it becomes a lally investigation where look at all my evidence, but all your evidence isn't important. Give me the right evidence, give me a timeline, and show me why he's the only one who could have done it. They should listen to me. I'm an expert. It's either used for misdirection or cumulative to evoke emotion irrelevant to the law. Exactly, Brandon. Either they are trying to hide it or they're trying to make you angry. That's the two positions we normally see. Exactly, and that's your jury trial. But that's because I'm not trying to throw shade on any of my very, very accomplished lawyer colleagues in the trial streaming area, but lawyers don't understand one thing a lot when they watch trials. It's they always want to sit there and tell you what the law is, but the law doesn't matter because it's only the 12 people in the jury box that matters. And if you can make them angry or say this is BS, you will win. It has nothing to do with all of this. What did the Cellbrite show at this point? And that's just confusion. If you don't have a case, or look at all these pictures of her unalived body to make you angry, because it's an emotional state. And I think, again, to toot my own horn, that's where we do it a little bit better because we get some experience. When I go there tomorrow, I'm not going in there thinking, oh, it's the first time in a courtroom. Oh my God, it's dark in here. Oh, I can't hear anything. The audio. Did they say something? I don't know what it was. I kind of know how and what and when I need to make a verdict because I've tried it a few times before. I had 2 cases last week. But if you're just, we ain't some chum off the street. We're regulators. Regulators, mount up. Young Guns 1, great movie. And also Warren G song. But you are just confusing them. Give it to them easy. Spoon feed your theory, spoon feed the evidence, and get them out of there. And not to sound crash or anything, but a lot of you have been here for a long time. You have seen a lot of cases. Most cases should be done in a week, at most. It's because prosecutors talk themselves warm. You have the murder trial. If it hadn't turned into a financial crime trial, that could have been done in 2 weeks. The Karen Reed case, if we wasn't discussing what, if any, snow there might have been at the scene, and if we didn't have that whole sidetrack with Aruba, it would have been a 4-week case. And for a simple DUI, it should have been a day. What's her name? Jessica Pace. I need some ammo for sarcastic comments. Yeah, keep him rolling. Well, he blacked out when he did it. He can admit that he unalived her, but he didn't plan to, and he didn't know how it happened. That's how it becomes manslaughter. Manslaughter is the lowest. It's the same as uagtsom manddrab. Hvis du kører en ned i trafikken, det er det samme. Straframmen er meget, meget lavere. Derfor så vil han forsøge at sige, jeg gjorde det ikke med vilje. I did it in Danish, it's easier. But yeah. It was a DV case in Connecticut. Just give the main cause, we don't need the sides. Exactly. Very few people will admit when they are wrong, much less when unaliving are involved. Yeah. Who was the guy who pewed the lawyer with Judge Borowski? I can never remember his name. It was the one where his lawyer stole not Alan Jackson, but stole the closing from the OJ case. Yeah, he was a solid prosecutor, except that he kept stepping on the wires. No, that was the guy who stole the closing arguments. I think the argument for first degree is something like he could have stopped between stabulator number 1 and stabulator number 16. He have to intend at some point in there. Yeah, and again, the overwhelming number of stabulations is also an indication that he wanted to do it, especially with the violence. We never know until he chooses to testify. It is a real language. There was a language before English. I don't want to disrupt your goat streams anymore. I can express all my opinions here. Oh, don't. Everyone should watch Valhalla's goat streams. I watched it yesterday. I found out that Valhalla and Dictionary Diva hate each other now. I was horrible to find out. I was kind of buzzed by it because I was hoping I was going to see both of them in Tennessee when I go over there. But apparently, Diva is throwing shade at Valhalla. I hate all the drama llama that goes on the YouTubes, but sadly, that's how it is sometimes. You guys would have so much fun in Denmark then. Yeah. Well, all of us speak English because we're just going to look at them and say, Yanks. I guess the defense arguments will be that he was so drunk that he could not form coherent thought, let alone of intent of anything. Not that I buy it. Yeah, perhaps, but again, intoxication isn't a defense because it's voluntary. So I don't think so. Unless I find an arts and crafts store, what size pillowcase do the baby goats wear? Valhalla, what size pillowcase goes with a baby goat?
Get another batch of photos, Jim.
Your Honor, Investigator Crawford had just looked through these, and we took the break, so I had not asked him if he recognized them nor about the definitive.
Is it easy for you to keep like a 115, 1, 2, 3? Some of the issues, I just want a large exhibit.
The question now. Oh, look! Now you can see his face. Melissa, wasn't it you who didn't see his face?
I understand, so I did already, during our break, I numbered these, they would be exhibits 115 to 123, and there's a collective in it that I did do 161, 162, 163. So I agree with that, it gets confusing when it's like exhibits like. You can't even, yeah, that's a good point, but I did number these.
What was the last number?
123.
Well, the problem is, damned if you do, damned if you don't, because who's going to believe the story? They don't have the forensic expert to talk about it. Who are they going to bring to tell the story of what had happened inside the house where with her coming at him with a bottle? I can't see what else they can bring to, well, if they can find someone to testify she had a history of attacking men when she was jealous. That's it. Other than him, I can't see many witnesses they could use. Maybe someone to interpret the medical findings, but did we ever find out if this is a public defender or they have monies? Because that would also mean a lot to what kind of defense they can put on. Oh, sorry. Valhalla, he never fitted them for a pillowcase. He just stuffed them in them. No, that was the chickens last year.
All right, please be seated.
So Investigator Crawford, remind us where we're at. I had just shown you photos after I'd asked you questions about the defendant's cell phone download. Do you recognize these photos?
I do.
Are these photos that were taken? Well, let me ask you this. Let's go individually. Do you recognize what's in this photo?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
It's a picture of the back of the cell phone device collected from 1943 Ashburn Court, which was identified as Jason Chen's cell phone device.
And was this a photo that was taken when it was in the possession of the Chattanooga Police Department before download?
Yes, that's correct.
Your Honor, I asked that be State's Exhibit 115. These records, there are approximately 11 pages. What are those?
It's a excerpt from the call history log, specifically the timeline area of the forensic cell phone extraction from Jason Chen's cellular device.
Does this reflect the calls that he was making, receiving, or missing?
Correct. It's a call log. It will show the date and time the call occurred. It'll show the direction of the call, whether it's incoming or outgoing. It'll show potentially what type of communication it was. It'll show the reported numbers between the calling number or the number that was called or that was calling in. And in the device, if the number, the name associated with them as well.
You recognize that this record is taken from Mr. Chen's cell phone download?
That is correct.
Your Honor, I'd ask that this be State's Exhibit 116, 116-1 through 116-11.
So moved.
And the rest of these photos, in vague terms, can you tell the jury what the rest of the photos represent?
This photograph is a photograph that was recovered off the cellular device in question we were talking about. It depicts that one.
Let's not, the jury will see it. Just in vague terms, are those photographs from Jason's phone and coordinating data?
Correct. They are phones recovered from the device along with the extraction data as well.
Photos that came from the device?
That is correct.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd ask that these be admitted. It would be 17, 18, 117, 118, 119, 120, 21, 22, and 23.
So moved.
All right. So, behind you, this you testified, 115, this is the cellular device that was retrieved from that red box in the bedroom at Jason Chen's parents' home.
Yes, that's correct.
This is what you performed the cell phone download on.
That cell phone download was performed. Yes.
Okay. I'm going to show you Exhibit 116-8. Is this a page of the call logs from Jason Chen's phone?
Yes, that is correct.
And would you agree it begins down here on this page on 11/19/2022?
Yes,
I'm
that's
going to take
correct.
a short bite.
Goes up on this page to 11.
Hey, Mo Raiders.
At
Welcome.
6:42 p.m.
Yes,
That's
that's
all
correct.
to have bio break.
And would you be able to tell us based on looking at this if anything had been deleted or not?
No, not based on looking at this.
Do you recognize any phone numbers of significance on this call history?
Yes.
And which phone number is that?
At the two up from the bottom, there is the phone number 423-664-2024. That is going to be the victim's cellular phone number.
423-664-2024 is Jasmine Pace's phone number.
Yes, that's correct.
And can you see the last call that Jasmine and Jason had?
Yes, it would be on November 22nd, 2022 at 11:56.
So these are the phone calls from her, which is at, this doesn't make sense because 14, 12, 25, that would be 12, 25 in the afternoon. I had a short one. No, it was just dialed. So no, it wasn't received. And then they have another one at 11:43. Oh, sorry, this is the day before. Forget what I said here. So he dials her at 11:43:50. So that's a quarter to. This is 11:43 a.m. Yeah, and only lasts 3 seconds, and then there's a received call at 11:56:46 that lasts an hour and 10 minutes. I would hate to talk to people for an hour and 10 minutes. But these are the last extractions. Is it running on a 24-hour clock? Yes, it is. But we heard from her mom yesterday that she left the house at 11 at night, which is 12 hours later than this. And I can't see any more phone calls from her. Maybe there's some text in there. Gracias, Cynthia. You're surprised I can read it. Why? It's really easy to read. You can see the timestamp, the phone number, telephony. Then you can see missed, received, missed, dialed. I think this is an Axiom report. It doesn't look like a Cellbrite, but this is what you see in court all the time.
That would be 11:56 a.m. Is that what you
Yes,
said?
that's correct.
And then what does this number over here represent?
That's going to be the call duration.
Now I'm going to take my
So
bio break.
how long those two lines were connected, potentially conversations happened.
1 hour, 10 minutes, and 4 seconds.
Correct.
And then over here, what does received mean?
Received means that this cellular device received that communication, meaning that the number associated here on the right, the 1-423-664-2024, called this device, and there's a connection time for 1 hour and 10 minutes and 4 seconds.
States Exhibit 117. Describe for the jury, even though they've seen photos at this point, describe for the jury where Mr. Chen, if that's Mr. Chen, and where Mr. Chen is at in this photo.
Based on the photo, you can observe the side profile of Mr. Chen, his left-hand side. You can see the picture of the drapery that's against the wall that's affixed, which is consistent with the same drapery that was there during the night we executed the first search warrant. The only thing that's not consistent in this photograph is that the bed appears to be in a different location at this point up against the wall.
What is metadata?
Metadata is associated data with pictures or different things it's actually the data makeup of that image or device that could show potentially what cellular device, for a photograph, could show what cellular device potentially took that photograph, time, date, and sometimes a GPS location or location data is available or allowed to be available. It'll also give a timestamp and a estimated location of where that photograph is taken.
Is there metadata that's attached to every photo that you take with your phone?
Yes.
Is it accessible on a forensic download?
Yes.
Was there metadata attached to this photo?
Yes.
States Exhibit 118. So most of the jurors probably have not seen this before. Can you just describe what we're looking at here?
We talked about the Cellbrite program, which is the forensic tool used to extract the data off the cellular device. They actually have a program to allow us to read that data as it's extracted. So you will see at the top that it states extraction report, Apple iPhone, and Cellbrite. This is how that, when you're viewing it on a computer, that you would actually see at the top of the screen. In it, it's going to show that specifically this photograph's metadata is portrayed with the thumbnail of the actual photograph itself. You will see here the name that the device is given that photograph. Essentially, it's going to show the location of where it identified that photograph being located on that device. On the right-hand side, the additional info, it's going to identify the size of the photograph in terms of how much data that it takes up on the cellular device. Then it's going to give these times here. Specifically, it will show created date, modified date, and assessed date. Those can be different depending on what's done with that photograph. If it's edited, it can show different things, or even if it's success, whether it was pulled up in a different program or if it was done anything else. And this down here, the source file once again shows the location of where it's stored on the device.
When was this photo created?
This photo was created, was identified as being created on November 20th, 2022 at 9:18 p.m. Now this says UTC +0. So essentially, at this time period, UTC, Universal Time Zone, it's basically, it would be, I think at this time, it would actually be 5 hours It would be closer to 4 p.m. before it taken, because it doesn't have the conversion for the time at that time.
So the time's not exactly right on this, but the date would be based on UTC.
Correct.
Okay. This is a photo that you located on Jason Chen's cellular device.
Yes, that's correct.
This is exhibit 119. Pretty obvious what we see here.
Correct. So, and we'll start with
Was-
the identifiable bracelet.
Was metadata attached to this photo in Jason Chen's phone?
Yes, it was.
Again, without the details, because now the jury's working knows what metadata looks like, sort of summarize for them what this information means, especially now that we sort of have two separate, on the right-hand side, we have additional file info with items below it, but then we have metadata below that. Can you explain that to the jury?
Yes, I was explaining the metadata that can be associated a lot of times with photographs. In this forensic report, it identified that essentially the camera that took the photograph is an Apple. Camera model is identified as an iPhone XR as being the camera model. The capture date, which essentially this photograph was taken, was July 23rd, 2021 at 4:51 at 11 seconds p.m. It's identified as pixel resolution at the time the photograph was taken. Also the typical resolution on screen up to 72 units per inch. And it showed it had a horizontal or normal fixation picture.
Why would that information above that show that it was created, modified, and accessed on 11/28/2022?
This would show its actual physical creation date at the bottom, as identified via the forensic report. At the top, it's essentially showing that this photograph has been created, modified, and accessed at a different time. It's identifying that this is the original data capture of when this actual picture was taken. And essentially this photograph was potentially imported, sent, uploaded. It was placed in another program. And it actually identifies the source file here, where it says JSON Mobile Library SMS, which is a formatting of text messages. And it shows that it was placed in as an attachment. And then it has its metadata associated specifically with the photograph.
Were you able to locate on Jason Chen's phone photos in his photo file that were screenshots of text messages?
Yes, I was.
Can you tell the jury about those text messages?
Yes, I observed multiple screenshot photographs of text message conversations between Jason Chen and the phone number of that of the victims. It identified the phone number at the top of the photographs. I say 423-664-2024. There are multiple screenshots that go all the way back to, I believe, August of 2021 to, I think the latest screenshot goes to, with the time depicted in the actual photograph of where it has the timestamp when something was sent or received, is November 23rd of 2022.
Do you know of any reason why Mr. Chen had screenshot photos of his conversation with Jasmine Pace?
I can tell you that the actual text conversations were not recovered from the device. It did not recover these text conversations between Jasmine Pace's cellular device and Jason Chen's. The only communications that we observed were the screenshots. So the screenshots were the only evidence left over of the content of this text message.
What does it mean that you couldn't find the actual conversations themselves?
What? What may cause strokes? Who had a stroke?
Only the screenshots.
I reviewed the contents of the forensic extraction to include the timeline, which essentially is a timeline of all activities on a device. So whether it's a log that's turning the phone on, your phone's communicates with towers all the time to provide location data. Also, when you're using the internet, provides location data, potentially website searches. It shows text message calls, all those things. I reviewed the timeline. I did not observe it. I went back through the messages portion of the forensic report to find these conversations within the device. I also reviewed other potential ways, such as call logs and things, and trying to find any ways that these were associated with that device. Like I said, that sometimes things can be recovered in the forensic extraction. Sometimes it has the ability to recover things that were deleted, and a lot of times it does not. So the only evidence at the time we had of the actual content were the text messages, because the actual text message were wrong.
State's Exhibit 121. Do you have an iPhone?
My wife does.
Do you have experience with iPhones?
I do.
Have you worked, when it comes to downloads, have you worked extensively with iPhones?
Yes, they're about 50% of the phones we do.
If an iPhone sends a message to an iPhone, what color is the text?
An iMessage, the way it's communicated in the iPhone would come up as a key-colored device. And if it's transmitted in green, it means either that device, the iMessage communications were not occurring. That could be for different reasons, such as the device was on, or that device that it's communicating with is not an iPhone itself, and it's an Android-style platform, which then you're not able to communicate via iMessage. You're communicating through a different platform in terms of SMS and MMS text messages.
What does it mean that, did Jasmine Pace have an iPhone?
Yes, her family's reports and her cell phone numbers.
Did Mr. Chen have an iPhone?
Yes, that's correct.
What does it mean that these texts are green?
It means that iMessages weren't allowed to be completed at that time, essentially. Whether it means the device changed or that device didn't have the capabilities of communicating. So it could be a few things.
Based on other messages in the phone, were you able to determine what date these photos, the photo and the text were sent?
Correct.
What date?
It identifies, you want to have the pointer?
I'm sorry, I keep taking it from you.
The date itself, it's going to say Wednesday at 11:46 a.m. The way that it would identify it, essentially, if we were to look at the metadata, it would identify potential creation date or access date, which would further give us the year range as well. So even though it's only saying Wednesday at 11:46, based on the screenshot, the metadata would show us the year that it was created in, essentially. So it shows Wednesday, 11:46, and based on my knowledge of metadata, that would refer to 2022, and that Wednesday, 2022, 11:46 a.m. based on the metadata would be November 23rd, 2022.
One second.
I don't know.
Can you read the text messages there?
Yes.
Not the top, the two green ones.
Two rings starting down below. Says, good morning. Slept like a baby, question mark. Made myself a matcha. Next one, starting at Wednesday at 3:03 p.m. Hey, are we still good for dinner tonight? Question mark. And it says red directly under.
Based on the location of that photo and those text messages, who were those sent from?
Based on how they were captured from the device, it appears they're sent from Jason Chen's cellular device
Thank
to
you.
that of Jasmine Pace's cellular device.
Because that's Jasmine's phone number at the top.
Correct. That's Jasmine's phone number associated at the top. It just doesn't have her contact name.
State's Exhibit 122. Does this person look like Jasmine Pace?
It's Jasmine Pace.
Do you recognize that location?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
That is the bathroom located in apartment 210 at 110 Tremont Street.
And was there metadata associated with this photo?
Yes, there were.
Can you, just again, briefly explain to the court, to the jury, what that metadata indicates?
Essentially, this metadata is identifying created modified dates of 11/16/2022 at 2:02 a.m. It once again shows where that photo is documented being taken from, and then you're going to see the pixel resolution and orientation as the picture was taken.
All right, while we're talking about cell phones, who requested Jasmine's cell phone records from Verizon?
The Chattanooga Police Department.
And how was that done?
Originally, with Jasmine Pace's cell phone records, we contacted Verizon. Verizon has certain requirements for exigent circumstances to provide those records without a search warrant in place. We applied for exigent, we filled out an exigent form, applied it to Verizon, and they granted us exigency based on their requirements. So Verizon then sent us Jasmine Pace's phone records based on exigency at the time.
Two documents, Investigator Crawford. Do you recognize those documents?
Yes, I do.
What are those?
The first one is a copy of the emergency situation disclosure, the action circumstance form I was disclosing. It's filled out. I filled out the form. I filled out the form to the best knowledge of information. It's on the form and faxed that form to them. The second documentation is from Verizon, certifying the records that we received from them in regards to Jasmine Pace's phone number are certified to the best of their, they're the custodian of records and they're certifying those records.
Your Honor, I'd ask to see the statements to exhibits. One is the 902 affidavit from Verizon.
Is the next one from 24?
Yes, sir. I'll make the Verizon emergency situation disclosure 124 and the affidavit from Verizon certifying the records 125.
124.
How can something that should be interesting be so boring? Is it just me, or is today really going slow? No, other than he had a picture on his phone of her and he screenshotted some text messages. But it takes forever to put it into evidence.
Looking at this certification from Verizon, is this something that they typically send to verify that the records they sent are in fact what they are claiming to be?
Typically, we also request them to certify them as well.
Okay. And can you see that there is a Verizon case number on that sheet of paper?
That's correct.
All right. You see this jump drive?
Yes.
I'm going to pop this jump drive into.
It's a horrible case, and it should be interesting because now we're having all the technical evidence that shows that they were in connection with each other, and he may have altered some files, but it just feels like the third time my dad told the same story when he started to get a little demented in the end. Oh yeah, and Valhalla made a joke.
Right, you see the jump drive showed up on the laptop?
Yes,
All right, I just opened, will you verify that I just opened the jump drive that's in the side of the computer?
yes, you do.
And do you recognize what is on that jump drive?
Yes, there's a folder for the associated Verizon case number along with the name certification. There's also an Excel sheet for cell site CDR, current 4G VoLTE data with the associated number with Jasmine Pace.
Vilu has been here for 14 months. Yeah, I dozed and had a 1 hour long nap. Yeah, and you didn't miss anything. But thank you for 14 months.
There's also a certification of records for the associated case number for Verizon.
Well, I can't even be
And
that
finally,
snarky because it's
Excel spreadsheet
so boring.
for SMS content associated with phone number 423-664-2024 and the associated dates that we requested.
And this, there's a number here
I
that
should
says
just be
certification.
sitting
Does
here
that number
planning my
match the
road trip,
number
at least doing
from
something.
Verizon and the affidavit from Mark Moran?
Yes, that's correct.
Your Honor, I'd ask that these records be admitted to the next exhibit.
The jump drive is open.
Yes, Your Honor.
To the 116.
Okay. At some point after all of this, were you notified of a discovery by the owners or operators of the Tremont Apartments?
Yes, I was.
What was that contact?
On January 5th, I was in contact with the managing staff at the Tremont Apartment office. I had a conversation with courtesy officer, Officer Clemens. After our original search warrant, and after
Food Mary.
the case unfolded, where we arrested Jason Chen and found Jasmine Pace. I knew that potentially at some point they may reclaim that apartment. Sometimes apartments will, kick people out for breaking lease agreements and such. I advised them if such were to happen, if they can contact me, I'd like to do another walkthrough of the apartment, just to do a final walkthrough of some sort. I talked to them. They actually called me back a little over a month later. When they noticed.
Yeah, but at least spice it up a bit. You can put in the same evidence, but make it faster and present it. Maybe it's just this guy's personality. He looks like he looks like me because I didn't get to bed till 3 a.m. this morning and was up again at 9. So that's kind of how I looked when I saw myself in the mirror this morning.
Notified me that they were actually doing a renovation department. Due to their wording was because the extensive amount of cleanup it was going to cost, they were actually just going to renovate the entire apartment. They notified me that that process started, and they provided me consent to go back into that apartment. Subsequently that evening, I called the crime scene. I wanted them to come back out and potentially redocument it after if something else were to be found or located. Also, myself, Detective Siege responded, and the courtesy officer of the apartment complex, Jason Pace, responded as well. So allow us further access to it because I requested once they provided that they had located potential items of evidentiary value to us, I requested that they stop until we had the ability to properly document those items. So they granted it and locked the apartment. I responded that evening just after 5 p.m. Where then I did another walkthrough. I located other pieces of evidence within that residence.
Had they begun to remodel, renovate that residence at the time that you arrived?
Yes, they had.
No, I'm just not feeling any snark coming on. So it's a little Yeah. No, yesterday she was really good. Maybe she had a bad night of sleep. It can happen. But these long breaks where she's looking at whatever is really annoying.
If you don't mind, please read a photo.
Yeah, and again, keep it fast, keep it moving, put in all the evidence. It's fine, you need to put it in there, but keep the tempo up because you're losing us. So in your system, do the rules say you have to lay foundation, or are they stipulated to like the way you said experts are? I- if you want to bring in Silbright, you bring it in and you the prosecutor will ask the police officer, say, did you make this report? Yes. And what does it show? It's the download from Brandon's phone, and then you go through it, and in Denmark the police have this thing where they will write next to the evidence what they believe it is, and then accidentally the prosecutor will show it to us, and then the defense will always object because that's a subjective, and it's for us to determine if it's what is said. It happens almost all the time. But other than that, they will show us and say, well, this is a photo from a green a cup of matcha in a Starbucks cup. The location data shows it was taken at this address at this time, and that's fine. And all the photos in that report is then, yeah, you just go through it. We don't have to. I've had cases where where you have maybe, I don't know what you call it in English, but if people rob places and store it somewhere, I don't know, but a stolen goods warehouse kind of thing. They will, each and every photo we will be shown saying this is a bobcat digger that they stole, and you can see this is the location data. Those days gets really effing long. I've had days where we just for 6 hours were given photo after photo after photo, because everything has to be in there so we can rule and say, well, the bobcat, I think because he said he bought it and it sounds plausible. You have to go through all that, but most of the time we don't do all of this. Keep it snappy, keep it sassy, keep it. No, yesterday she was better. I think the Geneva Convention says we can't have Brandon.
You recognize this photos?
Yes, I do.
This is an accurate representation of what Mr. Chen's apartment looked like when you returned after the apartment complex called you to tell you about potential evidence they had found.
Yes, that's correct.
Your Honor, this would be exhibit. I have exhibit 127 dash 1 through 127 dash 17. This is exhibit 127-1. Investigator Crawford, if you can, again, just instruct the jury as to what we're looking at in this photo at this point.
Yes, this is a photograph from essentially standing within the bathroom area, looking back into the main bedroom or the single bedroom of that apartment. You can tell based on the other photographs that you've seen at this point that the flooring is different and items have been removed. At this point, you can see the subflooring. You can see a mattress pad and other objects that have been removed from the bathroom. That's the actual bathroom sink here as well.
I'm numbering these, Your Honor.
Yeah, and she doesn't have her
127-2.
photos ready.
What do we have here?
This is going to be the carpeted section from the bedroom. This is going to be the bathroom area leading into the bedroom. This will be the left-hand side. In earlier photographs of the original execution of the search warrant, the bed would actually have been located in this area right here.
So is this evidence that you did not find when you were in the apartment on the 28th of November?
That's correct.
Because the bed was there.
There was a bed placed over top. The other things that are different this time, at the time that the search warrant was executed, it appeared that the lights that were placed in there were aftermarket of some sort. They had a light hue to them, so it's not a very well lit apartment. So a lot of things we did by way of flashlight at the time. Once they reclaimed the apartment, they put new lights in there for the assistance of renovation. It was a lot brighter. I could actually observe a lot more things at this point in time than having to use just the flashlight and then lighting the apartment. So we did originally look under the bed for potential items of evidence. In this picture with the lighting as such, it's obviously more clear that there is a dark discoloration at this point. That night, myself and crime scene investigators did not identify that.
And did it also come to your attention through other evidence that Mr. Chen's bed before 11/23/2022 was not in the position it was when the search warrant was executed?
Correct. When I re-entered the apartment after being granted by the apartment management to go back in and further process that scene with a well-lit light, I observed a few different things. Obviously, the dark discoloration was different than I originally observed. Not different, but I didn't observe it based on the lighting. Another thing is I can tell, originally I remember we talked about the potential, the splatter of some sort of an unknown substance. There's actually just above this picture, there's an oil stain a few feet off the ground that runs the length of it. I knew through investigative experience, through personal experience being a homeowner, that the length of it was consistent with the top of where your headboard meets the wall. If you sit up in bed, it's involuntary, but it happens. You rub your head against the back of the wall and an oil stain begins to build up there.
We are looking at what was under the bed on the first search of the apartment. He was called back by the owners of the apartment complex when they were renovating after when they were making ready for new renters. And we are now shown the underside of a carpet that would have been under his bed with evidence they didn't find in the first walkthrough. Hey, Chile. Well, I don't want to have more dead babies on the channel just right now. Well, not blood evidence. He claims that them walking around in the apartment was what spread all the blood all over the place, but it's more they left a photo and a driver's license and stuff on a counter. But again, it doesn't matter now when he admitted that he did it.
Especially for how long potentially you have that bed or that item placed at that location. I observed that on the wall as upon entry, and instantly you will see in this area back behind what this is actually the tile that was taken from the bathroom area. It's just the bottom, the mortared section of the bottom of the tiles has been built back in left here. There's going to be the original bed frame still in that room. Most all the items were taken out by the family before the apartment was reclaimed. And then certain items were left there. So they were going to eventually get rid of that bed frame, but it was still in place during our discovery, which the bed frame itself, I observed it, the headboard to be consistent with the oil stain that I saw on the wall.
And then the jury's already seen Exhibit 117. This is the photo you located on Jason's phone, correct?
Yes, that would have been, I did not observe that photograph particularly until after this secondary going back to the scene, due to there was approximately almost 10,000 images in cellular device.
Hey, Ralphie.
What is the blue matter that you can see coming out from under the carpet?
That's going to be the padding between the subfloor and actual carpeted area. If you're not familiar, some carpet has it built in. Some, when you lay carpet down, obviously you don't carpet directly on the subfloor because it'll be hard and not comfortable to walk on. This is going to be the padding for the bottom of the carpet that was in place prior to them starting to cut some of the other areas out. And
underneath the blue padding would have been what?
Underneath the blue padding would have been the subflooring itself. The wood.
State's Exhibit 127-3. Explain to the jury what we're seeing here.
This is going to be the carpet section as it's pulled back. You can see I pointed out a reddish brown color, a discoloration in the carpeted area where the bed was placed earlier during our first search of the apartment. After the carpet was further built back, you can see a larger reddish-brown discoloration that's consistent with blood. And you can see that discoloration also then seeps directly back into the carpet or to the pattern as well.
Based on your experience as a homicide investigator, what does that substance look like to you?
Blood.
State's Exhibit 127-4. Is this a closer up photo?
Yes, that's correct. With markers in place to show the size of the section itself.
Were those markers placed there by the crime scene unit?
Yes, by my request.
Did they collect that item?
Yes, they did.
State Exhibit 127-5.
It shows the carpet padding as it's been pulled up to further reveal the suspected blood that is now seeped through the carpet, the padding, and onto the subflooring itself. You'll see the two major sections where it seeped all the way down to the wood section itself.
State Exhibit 127-6.
It is another photograph of the subflooring from a different angle. This is actually
No, because again, he's trying to go with it wasn't intentional. So he's trying to get a manslaughter, which is which would probably be substantially less.
the other side of it with markers to give size and relevance.
State Exhibit 127-13.
At this point, you're going to see the bed now fully assembled. So the bed was there, the bed frame was there, the mattress was still there. Myself and crime scene investigators requested that we put the bed back together to see if we could further depict the details of what happened, during this incident. After putting the bed frame back together, we then placed it on the wall in the area that I believed that the potential long-term use of that bed frame to be used based on the discoloration of oil stains on the wall, which then it made it more consistent with the blood pattern located on that day. We inspected that bed frame further. It's assembled. We inspected the bottom of that bed frame to see if potentially could we rule out that bed frame was up against the wall and someone was stuffed under there. But we didn't see any blood transfer to the underside of that bed frame. The only blood transfer that we observed was on the side of the frame that's consistent with somebody being placed on this side of the bed.
All right, now we're seeing what
So he didn't do it on the bed. Is at least what we can gather from that part.
you've been describing in 127-17. Can you just explain that to the jury briefly?
Yes, you can see it more clearly here. In this picture, it looks similar to a shadow, but it's actually from this section here, just above here, is going to be a dark discoloration that consists of like little stains from hair, body, and things like that, such as touch that you normally will have. As you can tell, as the bed frame falls off, so does the dark discoloration, and it does such in the other way as well. So it's very consistent with the bed frame in place, and that they've been in place there for an extended period of time.
127-11. Just a further, a more distant photo of the entire bed as you put it together there in the bedroom.
Yes, that's correct.
This would be exhibit.
Oh, it was to show where the bed was positioned. So it wasn't up against the wall. It was in the middle, and the blood was on the left side of the bed as I see it.
127-16, just from the other side of the bed. Again, the same markings where you pointed out before, wear and tear on the wall.
Correct.
Read,
And the difference here is you can
watch
actually
that
now
one.
see the shadow that's created from the bed in the light, this dark strip here. You can see like how it gets darker here, and this is not a shadow, this is an oil stain on top of here. Just to show, and to be honest, most of it's concentrated on this side of the bed frame, where it would be typical of a single person resided there, that you only have one side. Most people have the side of the bed that they typically take, especially if you haven't seen any other and you sleep there every night. It's consistent with that with a single person.
And lastly, 127-10, you mentioned that there was what looked like discoloration that resembled blood on the bed frame. Can you explain where this photo was taken?
Yes, this is going to be on the side of the bed frame. When we're looking at the picture of the bed itself, fully assembled, it would be on the left-hand side, about halfway up. There's the dark reddish brown discoloration on the fabric of the bed frame that is consistent with blood.
Your Honor, may we approach?
So, did he do it on the floor next to the bed? Is that where we're getting at? The bed was the same from render to render. I think so, because it couldn't have been that dirty. But again, why wouldn't you wash the wall down if it's that dirty? I don't know if it's a very low income area or something, but at least Was the wall down?
It's almost noon. I understand lunch being set up in the jury room now. We'll take our lunch break at this point. It's 5 minutes to 12. Let's try to resume the trial at 1 p.m.
1 p.m.
Uh,
That's perfect because I've had my afternoon stream set up for 1 p.m. I think maybe in Minecraft. I don't know. Very, very long 2 hours and 45 minutes we had this morning. Anything substantial come in? I think worth noticing is the SIM card in his glass case. That's a stupid thing. The timeline seemed like he was trying to give himself some kind of alibi, which again kind of irks me when you have the story about, well, I didn't do it purposefully. Other than that, well, they found more blood residue next to the bed. But the question is, does it prove or disprove that he acted in desperation and had a blackout? I still have some troubles with the 60 stabulations. That to me shows a little bit more than, oh, it was an accident. I lost my mind for a second. Hey, Money G, you are on Catch Up Crew again. We will be back a little bit before 1. But it's been a long morning, and it's only 2 hours and 45 minutes. It's not the most exciting so far, but again, it's laying foundation and getting all the technical evidence in. I just hope that the next witness won't be a human sloth who's just dragging it along. Yeah, there's no reason to offer a plea deal in this one. They have a strong case. Let's look at the evidence. She's in a suitcase with shackles around her wrist and her feet. His fingerprint is on the innermost garbage bag out of 3. Her bloody clothes is found near the apartment. Her blood is found all over the apartment. He claims he didn't know her, didn't have anything to do with it. It doesn't take a rocket surgeon to convince a jury that this isn't just, oh, I accidentally treated her like a piñata. It's a good, strong case. You don't need to offer plea deals for everything. Yes, this is my gift from my angels. Except not towards the mic. Well, I hope they will find someone who can talk into a microphone. All you have is planted evidence, a drunk psycho, and a rock-solid alibis. Yeah. By the way, Brandon, people in chat was asking if we could do a Cellbrite on your phone. I said I think it's illegal according to the Geneva Convention to do that, but not because of your rights, but because of the stuff we will find on it. Well, yeah, the judge ruled it was not out, so it's going to be interesting. But I'm going to get my dinner. Hopefully, I'll get to eat it before we start again. I'll be back in 40-ish minutes. I hope you will join us, even though it's a bit slow. I hope it picks up, because first case of the year, and it's easier to get a match on Tinder than to get people to watch this trial. What's that going to show? Dog crimes committed by my dog? I don't know, Brandon. I just heard rumors. Thank you. I combed it. No. Get out of here. Get yourself some lunch, and we'll see each other in 40-ish minutes. And hopefully I will have eaten by then. For once in my life, I need food I can chew on.
What exhibit are you referring to?
I'm going to make this 100, Your Honor.
All right.
100.
100.
It is 100%
100%.
correct.
Objection, Your Honor.
So you literally built a cannon?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
All right, I'm in love.
Go back. Please do that again. Oh, that was the cutest thing I've ever seen.
While I'm waiting for this, did you, whether it's true or not, believe that Mr. Randolph had slept with your wife?
I wouldn't care.
You wouldn't have cared?
No,
Did you believe he had slept with your wife?
no,
Did you believe he slept with your mother-in-law?
probably did. Everybody has.
So there.